Hey, welcome, gang, to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. It's Saturday night. It's the 18th of January, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. And if you're on YouTube, you're buffering pretty bad right now. I don't know what it is, but tonight our channel is buffering like crazy, and there doesn't seem to be anything I can do about it. If you're on YouTube and you happen to catch the stream on Twitter or Rumble. So our Twitter or Rumble is where we need to be if YouTube continue giving us fits. So let's report on our national debt real quick here. For the sports fans out there, we're at $36,368 billion. So we've gone up just a tick. We're always going up, gang. The U.S. federal spending, the official budget is $7 trillion a year. And it's actually 7.16 is the actual spending. And the federal budget deficit, actual deficit, so it's different from the debt, from the federal spending. The deficit is $2.16 trillion. So we're spending $2.16 trillion more a year than we're actually bringing in taxes. So, yeah, geez, guys, sorry about that. It is what it is, though. So I'm going to do a refresh on YouTube real quick here, see if I can fix that. That's really bothering me a lot that YouTube is doing that right now. So just hang in there on YouTube. If you think it'll clear up for you, there we go. It looks like it cleared up right now. So sorry about that, gang. I can't control that right now. Okay. So we've covered our debt, the U.S. national debt. And, hey, if you're a taxpayer in the United States, your debt is $323,000 each. So that's all we're doing here, gang. We're just running that up and running it up. So we do have the gang with us tonight, and I'm going to do kind of a short little monologue, but I'd like to say hello to Thomas, who's with us. Ancient Tom is with us. He is the webmaster for the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We have Caleb with us, also known as Liberty Revolutionary. We have Doug and Maya with us. We have Cindy Stratton with us. We have Isaac with us, who's going to do a presentation for us in just a little bit. And then we also have with us Shane Gordon. And so welcome. Thank you for coming, everyone. And thank you for watching on whatever platform you're watching on right now. So a little bit of a monologue here. And that is basically something that I try to do a couple of times a year, which is stress the importance of getting involved at the state level. It doesn't matter what state you're in. But the fact of the matter is, lobbyists are literally kind of like cockroaches. And they will fill a void. They absolutely will. And they fill the void up at your state capitol when people don't come up there. When there's not a lot of people, constituents, actually going up there. People who are affected by what they do in your state legislature. If people don't show up, the cockroaches come out of the darkness. And they actually start going into, your representative in your senator's office and start sweet-talking them, stroking out checks, so they can vote a certain way on a certain bill. Or in some cases, actually start supplanting their own legislation. Anyone can do that, so can lobbyists. But here's the deal, gang. If your representative and your senator are getting hit with phone calls and emails every day from constituents, and if they're getting visits every day from their constituents, they are much less likely to engage in that kind of behavior because there's just too many eyes on them. Too many people are paying attention to what they're doing. So the bad politicians really do depend on you not getting involved at all. In fact, we know, because we go up to our capital in Missouri, we just went up there a few days ago, there's a lot of politicians that don't want to meet with their constituents. They have every reason not to meet with their constituents. And, I've got meetings, I've got to be in a committee, I've got to be on the floor. The fact is you can pull them out of all those things. And some of them simply won't do it. So, but we had a great experience on Wednesday. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But before we really get started on talking on what happened in Knock and Shock on Wednesday, Isaac has come across some new information. Anyone who cares about the quality of the food in your state might want to pay attention to this. Isaac's always bringing up good data. And tonight is absolutely no exception. So, Isaac, if you will, man, if you'd like to share your screen, And
All right.
yep,
Is that it?
yep,
We
there we
there?
go.
All right. Can you hear me good?
You sure can.
Awesome. So yeah, just to let everybody know, I go to a local farmer who I get my milk from, and he had mentioned to me earlier today that he got this strange letter in the mail from the USDA, or the Missouri Milk Board. And if anybody's followed the news the past month or so, there is a nationwide mandatory testing done for all milk and all production lines to test for AHPA. That is the something high pathogen for avian flu. It's essentially what's the H5 is, the new flu that's going around. So essentially, and I did a lot of research this afternoon trying to figure out, can they actually force themselves to come in and test your herd? And unfortunately, I don't have any good news to report because, according to all Missouri statutes, the state milk board can come in at will, and it is illegal to interfere with any uh, testing that happens upon dairy done by the state milk board. So, to give you, just to read this to you all, if you can't see it on the screen, it says to all Missouri Grade A processing plants, Missouri State Milk Board is sending this letter to inform you that the United States Department of Agriculture has issued a federal order in accordance with the regulatory authority provided by the Animal Health Protection Act, which allows them to carry out operations and measures to detect, control, or eradicate any pest or disease of livestock. Starting December 16th, excuse me, mandatory raw milk silo sampling has begun in the United States with the goal of eliminating HPAI, or the new flu virus, from dairy cattle in the U.S. The State Milk Board will begin collecting samples the week of January 13th, 2025. The State Milk Board inspectors will collect the silo samples in conjunction with their regularly scheduled finished product sample collections. One sample of each silo containing raw milk intended for pasteurization will be collected by the State Milk Board staff. The State Milk Board sampler must record the interstate milk shippers, listed bulk tank units. The name and address of the processing facility will not be recorded. All samples will be shipped to the National Veterinary Service Lab in Ames, Iowa. Sampling will continue at least 4 times every 6 months with the goal of identifying and eliminating the new flu virus in U.S. dairy herds. Results of a positive test will be reported to the Missouri State Veterinarian. If a positive does occur, further tests will proceed to find the infected herd and work with their local veterinarian to isolate the affected cows within the herd. There will be no disruption of the flow of milk that is intended for pasteurization. National raw milk silo monitoring is mandated by the USDA through federal order. All states must participate in the program. The State Milk Board will collect samples and information needed as efficiently as possible to not disrupt plant daily operations. Hence, the reason raw milk silo sample collection will take place in conjunction with finished product sampling. So essentially what we have is the state milk board is having to comply because of the laws that people passed dating back 20 years ago, which require contact tracing on livestock. Back, gosh, I was taking this stuff back about 20 years to the National Animal Identification System that the federal government tried to actually set up, and it became voluntary. But the way they're trying to find this new avian flu outbreak inside of dairy cattle is to only test it once all the different farms have put it together in their own silo. Therefore, as they do their PCR test on these milk samples, if there's a positive, they have to start dragnetting every farmer that put milk into that silo, including interstate uh, dairy farms. So, unfortunately, as I searched through the Missouri statutes, this is completely legal, and there's absolutely nothing that a farmer can do to stop this from happening to them. So it's something that we need to be made aware of because, as I mentioned, some of the things that led to this started almost 20 years ago, being put in very subversive ways. And it's just one of these things that we have to keep on top of this legislation because so many seemingly benign things which seem to be for our own good can actually turn out to be massive dragnets later on. So anyway,
Gary Wright asks a question of you, Isaac. How many
yeah.
false positive results will the government put on these herds? Answer equals all.
You know, let me see if I can actually find. I had a link here, but I didn't prepare it.
Gabby says, is the PCR test for livestock as accurate as it is for humans?
Yeah, let me see here. So, let me see if this will. Did that did that start showing there? Can you
Yeah.
see that USDA?
Yep.
This actually is the clinical case definition of the avian flu. So if you go down here to the bottom, detection of influenza A by PCR at a National Animal Health Laboratory network with the host species, virus lineage. So they're looking for anything through PCR tests. Identification by molecular assay or genome sequences. So yeah, they can pretty much scale it up to any desired level to find whatever they want whenever they want, because if they're looking for a genome sequencing, well, if you set your standards to be, you know, 2 genes side by side out of a string of 500, well, those 2 strings are going to come up with everything. That's why motor oil can test positive for the flu, like we found out in 2020. So yeah, that's the same standards that they used for us. It just depends on how fast and how much the USDA actually wants to start doing this. And right now, they have began this in Missouri, and there's not really much we can do outside of raise a stink to try to stop something.
Apparently not. Actually, Gabby says, contact tracing, that phrase again. So I'm kind of wondering now, because Gabby has put that in there, who the heck gave all these cows the Reach Obama phone? That's a joke. I'm sorry for the dry delivery. But I think, she's right. Contact tracing, they're using the same term. They want us to remember that because they have apps for phones for that, don't they?
Yep.
Reality check. This is their last ditch. They want to try pushing another scamdemic, and
Yep. Well, it Trump's in office again.
That's not what I was going to say. This sounds like the step 2 in trying to create a new virus pandemic.
Yeah, scamdemic. I will never call it a pandemic, ever.
Yep. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Sam Britton is on, because Sam Britton's on my phone as opposed to being an avatar in front of me on the screen. So I usually forget about that. But folks, Sam, now that you're with us right now, you have a show going on tomorrow night, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We're going to do all things health, do-it-yourself health. I got a gentleman on who we just picked up on Missouri Liberty Radio who used to be a police officer years ago. He's retired now. But he's made it his whole mission to try to help people get healthy. So we're going to take some of his information and let him put out information on what he has to offer, and should be a good broadcast.
Yep. He'd probably be interested in some of Isaac's research too, what they're trying to do to cull the herd. If you don't, or if you know what I mean. Less meat, less milk. Price increases in the grocery store again.
We'll take phone calls tomorrow. So any of you want to tune in on the stream and want to call in, we'll open up the phone. You can call in.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Sam. But
you bet.
Isaac, I'm grateful you're bringing this to our attention. I wouldn't have even known this if you hadn't called me earlier. And that's something we all need to be aware of at this point in Missouri, because this is the kind of deal. Well, as you had said, first of all, PCR testing is dubious at best. Even the creator of the PCR test said that's not what it was intended for. It's for research. It is not for diagnostics. It's simply for research. Period. End of story. Go ahead,
Patrick. I'll add one more thing in there. There was a story that ran today that I'll post up on my website later, talking about how Georgia has shut down all milk production.
Yeah.
Over this stupidity.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm beginning to wonder, are there any lab created milk facilities that have been brought into Missouri that are getting ready to go online?
No idea. I have no idea. So that'd be something interesting worth looking up.
I don't think so on that one, but
But still, they're messing with the food supply. Remember, gang, how we talked about, silver and gold is very important to our group, and we support that 100%. We have found out in the past what it means to have two major bills that we try to do at the same time. That's from 2020 and 2021, and that's very difficult. But one thing that the Missouri Freedom Initiative would love to see in Missouri is what's called the Food Freedom Act. And that would probably be our next project if there, someone wanted to sponsor a bill. That basically, and for all intents and purposes, it's easier to just describe it in these terms. The Food Freedom Act is designed to keep the FDA out of food production in your state, period. That's what it's designed to do. So, basically that means, there's a lot of regulation on growing food, gang. There's a lot of regulation on having cows. There's a lot of regulation on, having big, chicken farms. And those regulations drive up the prices, and they really don't help. And now they're using those very same regulations I just spoke about from the FDA to actually start testing all the cow herds in the state of Missouri. And, with a PCR test of all things, So the PCR test can find anything. All you got to do is turn up the volume. And you find anything.
Amplification cycles.
That's correct.
What were they using on the scamdemic? They were using I think it's 42.
Yeah, they went all the way up to
replication
42, and then the inventor of the PCR test said the highest you would possibly want to go is 28.
Yeah, well, he said that a couple of years prior, and then he died mysteriously.
Yes, he did. So and
2018,
something like that. 2018 sounds right. I think you're right. And so they had to kill the inventor of the PCR test, I guess, because they didn't want him, talking about his invention and what it's good for and what it's not good for. And it is not good to diagnose illness or disease. It is not good for that. If you take a PCR test of any human's blood, you will find feline leukemia. But we have natural immunity to it. It is not a threat. But they will find it, and then they will diagnose you with it and start treating you with it. See, that's the point. Basically, it has to do with, I believe they call it saturation. Because you could have, let's just say, for an example, 100,000 feline leukemia cells in your body. And that's one of trillions and trillions. So, and if they find it, basically they assume that it's affecting you. But you don't have any symptoms. Your immune system is not going crazy. It's because those cells really can't get away with anything. Your whole body's designed to reject them. People don't die of feline. The only people that have ever died of feline leukemia are those who had AIDS and were treated in the hospital until their immune systems were completely gone. And some of them ended up dying of feline leukemia, oddly enough. That's the reason I brought it up. I seem to remember that. But so at any rate, thank you again, Isaac. Do you have anything more on that you want to bring up?
Nothing really. I mean, right now that's pretty much it. I mean, I could bore people with, history on how we got to this point, but that was probably not going to be
Yeah.
I think there's a lot
too
of people
constructive to the thing. So.
I think a lot of people that listen here already know a lot of how we got to this point.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. So I'll tell you what, before we get into Knock and Shock, something that I titled this about was basically legislation being filed in, individual states all over the country. This is silver and gold legal tender legislation and more. I'd like to show you some of this, but not only show it to you, I would like to actually, if I can find it here real quick, I had it here a moment ago, actually let you guys know that you can look this stuff up yourself too. We are friends with an organization called the 10th Amendment Center. They have a wonderful blog on their website. So what I'm going to do is take us to our homepage, the 10th Amendment Center. Hang on one second here. I can't share a screen, so I just take over the entire screen. Sorry about that, a limitation of signal. And that's why you can't see me on camera, by the way. I'm on the very, very bottom right-hand side. I can't seem to do anything about that. So you guys are all better off without seeing my face, though, trust me. So let's go to the home page. This is what happens when you go to the 10th Amendment Center. This is the page you get. The page I'm interested in is in essential reading. And if you hover your mouse over it, you have the 10ther blog, 02, the 10ther blog and news. That's where I go. A lot of important stuff in there. This is state legislation across the 50 states. In fact, if I were a legislator and I didn't have a good idea on a bill to file, I would be combing through this, looking for the best stuff that other states have ever done before and stealing their ideas. That's what I would be doing if I were a legislator. Okay, we're going to scroll down just a little bit. We see silver and gold right away right here. Virginia bill would extend sales tax exemption on silver and gold. So Virginia is trying to get rid of sales tax on silver and gold. We'll keep going a little further. I depend heavily on the pictures. Wyoming bill would require state to hold gold and silver reserves. We're talking a depository, gang. Wyoming is making the big step. They've already got legal tender law. They've already got all that done. Now it's time to go do a depository. So that's what they're doing. Let's hit a few more, and there's more than that. Nebraska's repeal on state capital gains tax on gold and silver is officially on. It started January 1st. And the Missouri Freedom Initiative can take a little tiny bit of credit for helping out Nebraska with that bill. But all the real credit should go to the bill sponsors, the ones that actually got it across the finish line. But there was a little bit of help they needed to get started, and we were very happy to provide it. Okay, Alabama repeals capital gains taxes on gold and silver. They did that last year, but it went into effect January 1st. So Alabama has completely gotten rid of sales tax. I think there's only 5 states left with sales tax on gold and silver. Oklahoma bill would expand gold and silver's legal tender. So Oklahoma is expanding their already excellent legal tender bill. So let's keep on going here. Florida bill would make gold and silver legal tender and end taxes. They have sales tax, not capital gains tax on silver and gold. Of course, we have the Missouri Constitutional Money Act. They've been reporting on our bills both in the Senate and the House. So, yes, the 10th Amendment Center is actually carrying information about Missouri bills, just like they are the other states that you're seeing. And I'm skipping over a lot of really cool stuff, but I don't want to make this a really long, live stream. So we have Oklahoma bill would create state bullion depository. Oklahoma's going for a depository. Well, they've already got legal tender. That's the next logical step, is get your depository done. So we'll keep on going through here. Let's see, December. We're going to get to our pre-filed bill. And there we go. This is on Mike Moon's bill and Rick Bratton's bill. Constitutional Money Act. They reported on Missouri again, December 4th. Texas bill. Texas has some very, very big bills. Texas bill would establish 100% back gold and silver transactional currency. So they're going for the transaction part and also to make it legal tender. Texas is also at the same time going for this bill would require state to hold gold and silver as reserves, not just in everyday transactions. Now we're talking about the state holding its reserves in gold and silver. So this is the kind of stuff that's going on. We're going to see a lot more of these inside of the next 2 to 3 weeks. So some states file end of January, beginning of February. That's why you're not seeing as many states right now this year. A lot of them, start their legislative session later than we do and end it earlier than we do. But that's the kind of thing that's going on across the country right now. It's a pretty big movement. And another one I'm going to talk about for just a little bit before we open up for general discussion here and talk about knock and shock is specifically income tax. Well, it's not the entire United States, but I have to look and see how many states are doing this. Right now, I know of 5 states that currently have bills to end income tax in their states. I have never seen so many states file something as big and bold as that at the same time before, for elimination of a major tax like that, state income tax. Missouri has it too. And there's a lot of big money behind it. Rex Sinkfield is behind it. Others are behind it. The Americans for Prosperity are behind it. But they're also getting their money from Rex Sinksfield, so that actually makes sense why they're behind it. By the way, I'm not here to bash Americans for Prosperity. Not here to do that, but I will say that it seems like the organization has been somewhat co-opted. They've been kind of a libertarian kind of organization, libertarian ideals, that they put forth. But as opposed to trying to get stuff done through grassroots, they've decided to go the money route and grab the big money so they could just pay off the politicians that they need to get their bills that they want through. And by the way, that's called lobbying. So there's nothing wrong with that. If you're on the right side of things, there's nothing wrong with that. But we picked one that was a little bit different. We picked getting rid of personal property tax. And that was Rick Bratton's bill. It's a joint resolution at SJR 7. But the fact of the matter is, after our visit to the Capitol this week, and after talking to Rick Bratton and his folks in his office, they also agreed that this one is just never going to get through. It just can't get through. There's no way it would get through because there's too much resistance from public unions. So this seems more of a placeholder bill this year. So I'm going to suggest as a group that we actually stop with SJR 7 and actually maybe consider the possibility of doing SEPA again. Now, that's where we cut our teeth. That's how we formed, was actually in 2019 was to get in the SEPA fight that had been going on for 5 years before we got involved. We were involved the last 3 years. Technically the last 2, but also in 2019 as well. But I think, and by the way, I think that that's a smart move for us for right now, because I think SEPA is something that everyone's familiar with. Every single Second Amendment organization worth their salt has reported on Missouri's SEPA. No state has done what we have done, but currently our SEPA law is dead, struck down by the 8th Circuit Court. Actually, it might be the Circuit Court of Appeals, because they found the preamble, not the law itself, but the preamble of the bill personally offensive. And so they decided to strike it down, and that's not a joke. We could go into more detail, but it doesn't matter. So a new bill has been filed, and this one's by Rick Bratton, and I think this might be SB 23 or 24. I'll have to look that up real quick. If you want to do that, Caleb, you're welcome to.
Let me look.
And I think we ought to strongly consider getting behind that one, because we already have all the experience, basically that we had been able to garner during the SEPA in 2020 and 2021, how to get something like that through the legislature. Plus also the iron's hot. So I think that's one that basically we can probably get through the system. So at any rate, I would like, first of all, general discussion, thoughts.
Which one do you think it is?
Hang on, I'll just look it up.
I got this. Okay, it's SB 23. I found
23? Okay. That's
Yeah,
I was thinking it was 23 or
me,
24.
Yeah, let me, how do I start presenting? There we go. Start sharing. Let's see if this will come up over here. I'm just gonna...
Yep, this is the Second Amendment Preservation Act. That's correct. It is SB 23.
I'm going to view full bill text.
And so this has the same language in it as SEPA, and it's got the same teeth in it that SEPA had. $50,000 as a civil penalty, basically to any law enforcement agency that basically uses a federal charge code for firearms, or makes a bust or an arrest, basically that isn't appropriate, that does take away someone's Second Amendment rights, as long as they're not being stupid, of course. That's the kind of thing we had that no other state had, and we had it for 2 years, and within minutes of it being signed by the governor, there was a lawsuit ready to go to take it down by Jackson County, St. Louis County, and somewhere else. St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and Jackson County. Later on, Jackson County dropped out of the lawsuit. They decided they did not want to be a part of that once they understood the bill a little bit better. But St. Louis County and St. Louis City continued the lawsuit. Equally, there was a lawsuit from the federal government, from Joe Biden's Justice Department. And ultimately, that's the one that actually did get through. That's the one that was used. St. Louis's was dropped by a judge because they had a horrible defense. They said it was in direct violation of the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution. But the supremacy, that's correct. It's not, but that was the excuse they used. And Mike Bolden with the 10th Amendment Center predicted that, by the way. He not only predicted it, he predicted it 5 years in advance. So that's how much Mike Bolden knows about basically how the other side tries to make constitutional arguments against constitutional bills. So he's
supremacy clause.
That's right.
Supremacy clause.
That's right. So just so you guys know, this is on the table, but I would like the vote, because if we don't all agree on this, we can't put the logo behind it when we go up to Jeff City. So, but I do think this is incredibly important. No other state has ever achieved what Missouri has for Second Amendment rights, and we are the show-me state. We need to get SEPA reinstated as quickly as possible. We need to defend our Second Amendment rights in the state of Missouri and give the ATF a reason to not exist in the state of Missouri. Now, if people want to talk about what Eric Burleson is currently doing in Congress with the ATF, we can talk about that too. We're very supportive of Eric and what he is doing up there. And in fact, he has brought that bill much further than Matt Gaetz ever got it. It's really, really heating up.
What does he have? 25 co-sponsors on that
27.
now? 27 now, okay.
27 co-sponsors on the bill to literally totally eliminate the ATF. Poof, like they never existed. Because they're constantly, seemingly going after our constitutional rights. And they're killing people and people's pets all the time in their unlawful pursuits of being tyrants. So I think Eric's on to something with that, and he has my full support in that regard. I have been helping him out as much as I can and encouraging him as much as I can through Twitter. That's how the word is getting out about this bill, because there's not a whole lot of airtime about this bill and how important it is. But that was the primary purpose of SEPA. Stop the ATF from coming in and working with Missouri law enforcement, working with the Missouri courts, working with Missouri prosecution under federal charge codes. Because under federal charge codes, there's civil asset forfeiture. With civil asset forfeiture, the federal government and the state gets to divvy up all the stuff they took from you from violating your Second Amendment rights. This was the power of SEPA, gang. Written by Dave Rowland and Ron Calzone. And many states have what they call the Second Amendment Preservation Act, but absolutely no other state has ever come up with a fine for the law enforcement agency and a fast track through the court system for payment of said fine. That's what we did. Go ahead.
And at that point, not being employable in the state of Missouri either after that.
That's right. The particular employee. So not the agency, but the employees involved in violating someone's Second Amendment rights unjustly. Now, if someone is standing in a city, with, let's just say, a 9mm, pistol, and is shooting, everywhere, all around them and everything, no, that person is a threat. It's other instances that they have, like, for instance, red flag laws. That's where the ATF really, really loves to get in your business very quickly. So if your neighbor calls up and says, you know what, my neighbor Pat, he seems, kind of a free radical. He's all about Second Amendment. He's all about the 10th Amendment. Boy, don't get him started on the First Amendment or the Fourth. He's just kind of weird, And so the state says, okay, thank you for letting us know. We'll take care of it. And so do you happen to know if he owns any firearms? Oh, yeah, he owns firearms. He shoots firearms in his backyard all the time. I'm in the county. I can do that right here in Missouri, which is nice. And so now they're coming over to my house to take my weapons so they can determine my mental health status, right? That's exactly what you want your state doing, is determining your mental health status.
Yeah, we saw where that leads, in 1930s Germany.
Yes, we did. And Hitler had the same program, by the way. But those deemed not mentally healthy by the state, many of them were put into concentration camps. Others were summarily executed. We're talking about people in wheelchairs, people who were mentally retarded, people that, had memory problems were killed. I mean, it's weird what they did in Germany. It's really weird. But that was all part of their eugenics program. So
the irony is that Germany decided a couple weeks ago they were going to go ahead and disarm an entire political party, literally revoking their
Yep.
firearms licenses. Yeah, they're back at it.
Yep. Gabby asks, is Eric Burleson from a political family? The name is familiar. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't. I've actually spent a lot of time with Eric over the years, but I've never asked him about, his family history or anything like that. I mean, we're normally talking about legislation when we get together. So that's generally what we're talking about. In fact, not generally, it's always what we talk about. I consider that time that I have with Eric as precious. I don't waste it. So we work on stuff when we talk. Let's see. Gabby says Trump supported red flag laws last term, probably more so now. Technically, he didn't support. He vocally said something about supporting red flag laws, but he didn't do anything about it. The backlash he got was pretty huge on that, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like the bigger threat is ironically Pam Bondi and her influence, but I don't think they'd be able to pass something through the House or the Senate.
Yep. So Maria says, can we get it passed this year? Maria, I'm sorry, I didn't read that when you typed it. Were we talking about SEPA? Were we talking about gold and silver? Were we talking about property taxes?
I'm assuming probably this.
Oh,
And
SEPA. SEPA, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think there will really be any major problems getting this passed. All it's doing, okay, I don't know if you all can see. Let me scroll up here so I can see what it looks like. Okay, on your end, on the video, scrolling through here, there's a portion that's in brackets. Has a okay. Let me get back up to the top here because I know there's a delay, so I got to look at both ends. There's a portion in brackets right here, and then obviously in the other end, that every bit of this is what's getting removed. Effectively, what the Eighth Circuit said is that everything else in here regarding what things the state agents can't enforce and all that, the fines, the suing, the punishment, is all perfectly fine. What they had a problem with up in here is let's see here, not so much the main body of it, but the fact that I'd have to find it in here. I'm not doing that right now, but that the preamble of this said that it declares them invalid or invalid to this state. Now, they didn't use the term by this state, which if it went to the Supreme Court, that would probably be, reinstated just because of the specifics of the language. But if we want this back in effect sooner than waiting for the courts to act on it, this right here all it needs removed. And this really wasn't intended to hold legal force. It's supposed to have a statement of principle.
That's correct. That's exactly why it was put in. In fact, that's the term that Dave Rowland used.
I mean, it's not necessarily holding legal force. It's everything 1.410 onward here, regarding what it is and isn't that's enforceable and not. And you go further down the line, it talks about how if someone is various violent acts or interstate crime rings, things like that, then you can cooperate with, but the charge code still, depending on the circumstances, have to stay separate.
Okay.
Like if there's legitimate crime, you can still work with the feds.
Yep.
If it's something that is someone minding their own business and not violating any other law and nothing that's, then they can't do anything.
Right. So I'll tell you what, we don't have to make that decision tonight. When we come back together again in 2 weeks, we can make that decision. If people want to bring more bills to the table, tell me what you guys want to do, because this isn't being forced on anybody. But since we did have that discussion with Rick Bratton's office, I think it's probably best that, we actually do drop SJR 7 and actually select a different bill. And since SEPA is going through the system again this year, plus also, too, we have the momentum that we have had for the state pride for having that bill. We have the momentum of all the news coming out of the 8th Circuit and the general hatred of the public towards the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals opinion on SEPA. I think that we probably have a pretty good chance of just getting this one, through this year. So that's my opinion. But if we don't want to vote tonight, we don't have to. And also, too, I've been asked to come up with the second date for Knock and Shock, and I'm thinking towards the end of February. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I know that the last one of the year is like I think it's the last week in April. It's called Lobby Day. And it's basically a Second Amendment Lobby Day. And we have historically been there since 2019. We've been there every year for that. That's our last Knock and Shock Day. So we only do 3 Knock and Shock events. I make multiple visits to the Capitol apart from Knock and Shock to support our legislation. I set up individualized meetings with certain people in the legislature, basically stuff where we don't need a big group, stuff that we can do, basically with 1 or 2 people to help our legislation along. And so at any rate, so Ozark Freedom Gal says, all door knock for SEPA. Okay. So
Yep.
we definitely have someone here for that. I think getting SEPA back is incredibly important. Do you guys, those of you who have been with us for 5 years, remember when we started doing this? First, it was the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Back then, we were Truth, Money, and Freedom podcast, by the way. But back then, we kind of came to the conclusion when Jimmy and I kind of started this, was first, we were going to go get our gun rights for the state of Missouri. Secondly, we were going to get silver and gold reinstated as legal tender. And then after that was the Food Freedom Act in that order. So that's kind of what the foundation was of even starting this whole thing. So just so you guys know, getting our Second Amendment Preservation Act is extremely important because no one else will do it for us. We have to do this. Every state must do this to literally show the federal government that infringements on the Second Amendment will not be tolerated by the states, the very same entities that created the federal government, and can take it down if we so choose. It's time for the states to actually start showing the federal government that we are much, much, much better off without them than we are with them, for many reasons. And if the federal government wants to stay to the original constitutional constraints of what their responsibilities are, it is simply trade, and defense. That's what the federal government was put together for, gang. Not welfare. Certainly not the FDA, not NASA. As much as I love space, people who know me personally know how much I love astronomy and astrophotography and space in general. It's a big hobby of mine.
Nerd.
Yeah.
You're a big-time nerd.
But NASA is not constitutional. It just isn't. I hate saying that, but it's not. NASA is very expensive, too. But now we have, these private concerns actually going into space. That's exactly the way it should have been from day one. Not a federal government program. We don't need, whatever Trump started, Space Force or whatever it's called. I don't know. We don't need that stuff, gang. So we have private concerns that are willing to go into space because there's money in going to outer space. And I'm not talking about just, plain tourism, space tourism. I'm talking about all the raw materials that exist in outer space, on the moon, on asteroids, Mars, basically. And then, eventually in probably 500 years, if the world is still here, we'll probably have settlements on Titan by then. And that's a moon of Saturn, by the way. So, and I'm going to do a quick question. I don't want anyone looking at their phones. I'm going to do a quick quiz real quick. Does anyone know what the biggest moon in the solar system is and what planet it orbits? Do 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 do. It's Ganymede. Ganymede is the answer. Ganymede is one of Jupiter's moons, by the way. So it's bigger than our moon. So, yep. So, yeah, I
like
know
it,
I'm
though.
a nerd. I know it.
Though. You know I like it, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was just one of those interesting facts because a lot of people think that the moon is the biggest moon in the solar system. It is not. It is second or third largest. I can't remember which. Ganymede is first. Ganymede is, I think it's like 2,600 miles in diameter. Our moon is 1,900 miles in diameter. So, and the Earth is 3,000 miles or 8,000 miles in diameter, by the way. So the moon is a quarter the size of the Earth. Okay, enough of the nonsense here. You guys have seen what other states are doing with silver and gold. No, we are not alone. We are not alone. Other states are trying to get this stuff done. Many states, just like Missouri, are trying year after year to get this stuff done. The big year where it all seemed to really start when you had more than 5 states going for gold and silver action simultaneously was 2023. 2023 was the year it all started. That's when we had, in 2023, 23 states had gold and silver legislation. In 2024, 27 states had silver and gold legislation. So we'll see what 2025 turns up. We'll see how that goes. And by the way, Citizens for Sound Money have on their website, it's not updated right now, but they do have a nice page that shows every state and the legislation they're doing and the status of that legislation from Legiscan. And maybe Tom and I at some point can sit down and talk about that and see if we can incorporate something like that into our site with APIs. That would be
absolutely.
Yep, that would be a great thing to have on our website so people can go and see the status of all states' silver and gold legislation. Okay. Basically, since we're done with that part of things, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Knock and Shock and how Knock and Shock went. And Sam and Trish were there with us as well, by the way. So, Sam, what was your feeling on Knock and Shock?
I enjoyed it for 2 reasons. One, got to meet with a lot of people, got to meet with some legislators. The ones I ran into was Bill Hardwick and Rick Bratton and also Mike Moon. And also made a few rounds. Of course, I was up. Trish and I were up there with Gary Ride.
Yep.
And we stopped over at I'm trying to think of all the offices we went to, but we went around to several places. Holly Jones is one of them we went to. The one good thing out of it, I got more exercise with this weather being the way it is. That was one of the best places to get exercise I ever seen because the building's so big and so vast. I mean, it's not that tall, but it's big.
Yeah.
And so I had an actual extra motive. I just wanted to get a workout. So that was the other part of it. But of course, then I went and undid it when I went into the cafeteria. So that's a whole nother story.
Yep.
Anyway, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing everybody up there that was there. Misty Atkinson was there. Who else did we see up there? Doggone. There's just so many that and of course, Isaac was up there. And
Tom was up there. Isaac was there. Isaac's wife and his sister. Yep. His sister, Carrie. Oh, man. She is one heck of a knock and shocker, but she's more than that. She's a heck of a phone caller and emailer. You know, basically, as far as having Carrie, in the Missouri Freedom Initiative, she's kind of like our nuclear weapon, along with Voodoo Queen, with, the faxing queen.
Yeah.
We have a lot of talent, a lot of people that have great people skills in the Freedom Initiative. And I'm very grateful. I just love all of you. I'm so grateful that you guys are taking an interest in our state and also taking an interest in making sure that what we leave behind, when God calls us home, we should leave behind something better than we got. And so that's what everyone's working towards, you know, in the initiative. So God bless all of you.
Yeah, I have to say this about Carrie. Every time I turned around, she was getting another co-sponsor for something. And I was like, come on, leave at least one for me.
Yeah.
Come on.
She got a lot of co-sponsors. She single-handedly got 3 the day before Knock and Shock. So, and that was through emails, and she did it during her lunch. She just picked out 3 legislators that she knew, emailed them, asked them to sponsor while she was at lunch, and then she went, you know, back to work. And when she got off, she went and checked the page, and they co-sponsored. Guys, it can be that easy. Carrie is extremely persuasive in her arguments, both written and oral. But at the same time, you know, she has learned, just like everyone else will, you know, basically how to actually approach these guys to get them to co-sponsor a bill. Because you're basically asking them to do something on behalf of their constituents, which you may not be. Once you get to know these legislators, they start listening to you, talking to you, looking forward to seeing you, and asking you for advice. And that's, Carrie's hit that level already. So, I mean, this is the top of actually being involved in state government without actually being in state government, which I'm pretty sure most of us don't want to do. We don't mind trying to affect positive change from the outside, but not a lot of us want to be on the inside. So,
well, I'll just leave you with this, Patrick, and that is, from my standpoint, there's a lot of great things about going. You get to meet, you know, with your legislators. You also get to see a lot of people that you don't normally see. I mean, you know, so many people that I've seen. By the way, Doug and Maya were up there too. Mm-hmm. So Tom, of course, your webmaster, was there.
Yep,
so,
that's right. And he had his daughter with as well. And so, you know, so that there was 2 of them actually. That was really great, guys. Our webmaster, Tom, I have to tell you, although I've been talking to him for, I'm going to say, a year and a half now, and he's been our webmaster for about that long as well. 3 days ago was the first time I met him. Talked to him on the phone a trillion times. But so at any rate, that was a great place to meet him, and he got to see what we do. In fact, Tom, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and telling us what your thoughts were on Knock and Shock.
Well, I kind of surprised myself about how into it I could have been. All the time working up to going, I'm thinking, you know, a little bit timidly about, can I perform verbally or not in front of all those important people? But you know what? When I got up there, I was just talking to regular people, and I was conveying my sentiments on these bills that we believe that need to be passed, and I'm ready to go again.
Yep, and so you shall, Tom. We'll probably look at the calendar and pick a date. You know, basically tonight, even before we end the stream. But what I forgot to put in the email, and actually it wasn't forgot, I just ran out of time. We do need to start emailing and calling 7 very specific people in the Senate, because Mike Moon's SB 25, the Constitutional Money Act, has ended up in committee, and it's in the Banking Committee. And I'm going to show that to you real quick here. I'm going to first of all get that bill up, SB 25. Okay, and it is, let's see, actually, let me take you to it so I can show you guys how I do this. I want to apologize to you guys. A lot of times I just bring up pages, but I don't show you how I get there. So we go to the Missouri Senate. This is, you know, senate.mo.gov. Pardon me. And then I know it's Mike Moon, but you can also look it up by the number 25. So you go to Senators, you scroll down until you find Mike Moon, and there's Mike Moon right there. So we click on Mike, and then we click on Sponsored Bills. This is one of the ways of doing it. If you don't know the bill number, you can usually find it if you know the sponsor. SB 25 is the first bill he filed. What that means in Jefferson City speak is it is his highest priority of the year. So we click on 25. It comes up with the executive summary, but you click on all actions, and it shows you it's now in the Insurance and Banking Committee. So we go, okay, we'll go back to the Senate page, and we'll go into committees, standing committees. In this case, this one is insurance and banking, and we have some somewhat familiar faces, and not. I know it looks bad. All right, okay, I know it looks bad. So guys, just hang in there with me. We have Sandy Crawford as the chair of this committee, and Sandy's been around for quite a while. This is her last 2 years before she terms out. So at any rate, Sandy is someone that we all need to call and email. But also David Gregory, the vice chair, and also a Republican, just like Sandy is. Then we have Justin Brown, and then we have Lincoln Huff. Yeah, I know. We'll leave a lot of this for later. Lincoln Huff is someone we still need to call and email. Tracy McCreary, under the best case scenario, everyone in this committee votes yes except for Tracy. Tracy doesn't like the bill. I have spent time with Tracy, Senator McCreary in her office 2 times, in 2023 and in 2024. Last year, in 2024, I spent an hour with her in her office answering her questions about the bill. But she keeps coming back with it's not necessary. I have a response for that, and I'm going to share it with you guys in a little bit because I want you guys to use the same response. Sorry about that. I needed to get some water in. Senator Angela Mosley. This is an interesting one. Democrat, but she loves the silver and gold bill and voted yes for it on the Senate floor in 2024. So I think she's probably a yes. Curtis Trent, another one. All of these folks need to be emailed and called by everybody. Here's why. Now, Lincoln Huff serves Springfield. Okay, so people may think, I can't call. Pardon me. Sorry, I need more water.
Email me that list for the website.
Okay, I'll get that done for you. Senator Huff serves Springfield. But in any committee that any politician serves in, they serve the entire state at that level for the committee. In fact, I can prove it to you. This is literally by statute, but also by pay. If you are a chair of a committee, you have a significant increase in the budget for your office to be able to handle the inflow of phone calls, emails, and visitors having to do with the legislation that's in the committee. And I think the vice chair gets a bump too, but I don't think the regular members do. But in this case, when someone's in a committee, they serve the entire state, not just their district. So every one of these people needs a phone call and an email from everyone in the initiative. Positive information about why they want silver and gold legal tender done in the state of Missouri and how it will benefit the state. This is the kind of stuff you got to send them. Please don't call them up and say, I just want you to vote yes on silver and gold in your committee. That is not enough. Please give them a reason or 2 or 3. In fact, if you're really into it, you could send them all write your email, write a good email that's maybe 3 paragraphs long and send it to all 7 of them. Just change, who you're sending it to and change the name and, in the beginning of the email. That's what I would do. In fact, that's what I will be doing, and I'll be doing that probably tomorrow night. I have not called or emailed anyone in this committee yet. This was just assigned on, I think it was Thursday afternoon. So, at any rate, that's what we need to do, gang. That is our top priority for right now. Hardwick's bill, they haven't gotten down to 433 yet, so we have some breathing room right now in the House, but the Senate is where it's starting to warm up. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This would be on Tuesday. Now, Monday is an off day. No one's got, because that's a holiday. That's Martin Luther King Day. So we're looking at Tuesday, and that's the 21st, and that's when the Senate reconvenes. And right now, this committee is scheduled to meet. It's actually scheduled to meet on Tuesday. They haven't canceled yet, and I want you to look at this. There's only 2 bills in that committee. Mike Moon's bill is first, and then Senator Gregory's is second. Only 2 bills. We might be heard this coming up Tuesday, but they have not posted that they are going to be, hearing SB 25. They haven't posted anything actually yet. But the law says they only have to do it 24 hours before they intend to meet. So that could be Monday at noon is when we hear that the hearing will be the following day, this coming up Tuesday at noon. It works that way most of the time, gang. So, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen. She may not convene, or they may not have a quorum because some people aren't there on time. Any number of things could happen. So basically what I'm asking for is for everyone to watch their email on Monday. Because if Monday this thing gets noticed up, I'm going to email everybody, and those who are able to, please come to Jefferson City to testify on behalf of this bill in committee. So at any rate, that's what I wanted to get across to everybody, but I figured that would be I just didn't have enough time to get an email done today, gang. That's what it came down to. So another email needs to go out explaining this anyway, because there's a lot of people on our email list that are just awesome people that are somewhat active and involved, but they don't watch our live streams. So getting emails out is actually critical, when there's something that needs to be done. So, and I'll remind everyone that we have had problems with our email, but I don't know to what extent after sending out today. In fact, I need to check on that. And I could do that while we're actually doing the live stream. I probably should, actually, because I need to figure out some kind of workaround for this.
I'd post on socials as well.
Yeah, I think basically I'm gonna start doing that on Twitter. And when I post it on Twitter, I have no interest in Facebook. I'm just not going there. I haven't been there and done anything in a long, long time. So if anyone's on Facebook, and if you see me post on Twitter, feel free to copy what I put on Twitter and post it in Facebook, and share it around. And let's see.
Yeah, Facebook has just been kind of useless when it comes to dealing with political things.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tom.
I want to be there to testify if it comes up, but I can't get my chauffeur. It's not available on Tuesday.
Okay, gotcha. Well, this would be a noon thing. So we'll talk, Tom. We'll see what we can do for you here.
All right. Yeah.
So this isn't a thing where we need to be there at 9 a.m. We'd have to be there at noon, before noon anyway. Tom, I'll let you know, we were not denied. Tom made an unsubscribe link for me for the email in hopes that would rectify our problem with Yahoo, and it looks like it did, because I didn't get a bounce back with every single Yahoo address on the email list, Yahoo, AOL, and AT&T, which together were something like 680 email addresses out of our 3,800. So at any rate, looks like it worked, Tom, because I didn't get a bounce back. So, all right, good deal. Okay, so everyone got the email today. I'm ecstatic. I'm very happy about that. I'm easy to please, though. Okay. All right. So I can let you guys know that is, basically the case at this point in time is the emails are going out again, hyper smooth. So basically, if we have news Monday afternoon about a notice up on SB 25, I will be sending an email out on Monday. And it's short notice, gang. I know this is the game we play. This is the way it always goes. We don't need 1 million people up there to testify. We maybe need about 3 or 4 really good, testifiers is kind of what we need here. And also we need, to keep an eye out for who else shows up for this hearing. Sometimes the press shows up. Sometimes, basically opposition shows up. Sometimes bankers show up, gang. We had that happen several times in the last couple of years. That's always interesting to me. They generally don't testify. They just come here to see how it's going. I guess to know whether or not it has any traction. Okay.
I would suggest that everybody keep an eye out on the website on Monday, just in case they didn't get an email in time. I will be posting it when it comes in.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Tom. And if you guys remember, emails are always under the blog section of the website. So that's where every email that I send out, for those who have, you say, gosh, I didn't get the email this week. I got it last week, but I didn't get it this week. Go to our website, because we are having problems emailing people. People are messing with us. And Aaron Dorr knows this all too well. I talked about that story today. I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but Aaron Dorr, his email server was completely shut down 2 weeks before we got SEPA across the finish line in 2021. Completely shut down. And so, and Ron Calzone and myself were under denial of service attacks. So that's what happened to, three people that were supporting that legislation.
Don't you love how ironic that is?
It is. And some people said it was a coincidence, by the way.
Oh, yeah, just that 100% coincidental. Right?
Yep.
Hey,
So,
Patrick.
yes.
It's Misty.
Hey, Misty.
I don't remember them ever noticing up, and I could be wrong, noticing up a hearing notice on a holiday.
Okay.
Does that not have to be a legislative day? And I'm asking.
Yep.
I'm not saying that I know.
Nope, I don't know either. But I just got to say that right now, all the committees are supposedly meeting. I've seen it. Actually, I can't remember where I found it, but they're all scheduled to meet, and Sandy Crawford has not called off the committee meeting for that day. Not that I know of anyway. They're still noticed up as meeting on Tuesday. I think it's at 12 o'clock. So, but they have to notice it 24 hours in advance. For all I know, they are having a meeting, but it's just to, say hello to one another and start talking about what they'll be working on next week. Mm-hmm. It could be a meeting like that. And so if they don't notice up 25 by, I would say, 2 o'clock on Monday, there will be no email, because they're not going to do it. They have to, by law, have that done 24 hours in advance, if I'm correct.
Which committee title are you looking for?
This one is insurance and banking on the Senate side.
Okay, I'm on the Senate side. There are hearings on Wednesday that I'm seeing. There's one on Tuesday.
Yep.
I'm not to the right committee yet, but for instance, local government elections pensions has SB1, SB2, SB50, and SB10 in the notice to be heard that day.
Okay.
So there are committees that do have bills assigned to them.
Yep. And
so let me see if I can find that one.
And banking has 2 bills assigned to them.
Okay.
And so it's Moon's bill plus one of Senator Gregory's bills. So they only have 2 bills, gang. What that means is the next time they notice up, they're going to be tackling both of those bills, unless more stuff gets put on Sandy's plate before she meets next. And then it's up to her on what order she does the bills, believe it or not. It's not an order that they were sent to her committee. She doesn't have to follow that. It's totally up to her. That means it's up to us to convince her to have the hearing, first off. But we also need to convince all those committee members that Missourians do indeed want this bill to go through, and what the benefits are to Missouri, why we need this bill. So all of us need to make phone calls and send emails, and I do mean all of us, please, to all 7 committee members. And if you're not comfortable calling during business hours, that's fine. In fact, I had a great tweet from someone who said that and I know people like this, said, I'm just too nervous. I don't want to talk to them on the phone, but I'll send an email. And I say, call in the evening and leave a voicemail. Yeah, they never return. Senators almost never return calls from voicemails. But especially if you say what you want them to do and you really don't need them to call you back. And so at any rate, call on the evenings or weekends for senators if you're nervous, or even reps if you're nervous. I've been there, gang. I've been there. I know what it's like when you first start out in this, and it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. Those of us that have done this for a while understand that working with these folks is just like working with your neighbor. It really, truly is. Not that your neighbor would stab you in the back or lie to you or deceive you in some way necessarily, but it's the same as talking to your neighbor.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Hey, Pat, I got a question for you.
Sure.
If this passes the Senate, is there still the House rule that says no Senate bill can be heard until after spring break?
That I'm not aware of. In fact, it's not even heard. What the rule is, under the Plocker rules, that is that no Senate bill could go into a House committee until after spring break. So this is what we went 2023. We went out of the Senate like a bullet. We were the very first bill out of the Senate, silver and gold. It was SB 100. And then it sat for 6 weeks in the House without a home. It wasn't even assigned a committee. 6 weeks after it got out of the Senate, it finally got assigned to a committee in the House. It was in limbo, what we call legislative limbo, because they could not assign it a committee until after spring break. So at any rate, but this is the one, we had a low number, SB 25. We knew they go numerically for assigning bills to committees. We knew 25 was going to come up quick. And so we knew this from the very beginning. And so at any rate, the Senate is where we place our attention right now. The House, getting co-sponsors, that's very important too. Don't get me wrong. But we're not, we don't have a pending, hearing coming up like we do in the Senate. So the Senate is where our attention really needs to be focused right now, in my opinion, unless someone thinks differently. Keep calling for co-sponsors in the House, though, of course. That everyone should be doing. If your House rep has not co-sponsored HB 433, Bill Hardwick's Missouri Constitutional Money Act, then we need to get on them. We need a lot more co-sponsors. So I will, and I have not started my personal campaign yet of making phone calls, and it's for lack of time. So I will do that actually when I'm up in Minnesota. I can do that easily while I'm up there. I just go down the list and call them up individually and literally call them up and ask them to co-sponsor. That's exactly what I do. I don't play the game anymore just by calling up and saying, hi, my name is Pat Holland. I'm a constituent, which is technically accurate, but I'm not their constituent. Bob Titus is already co-sponsored. In fact, he was the second one on the list. So Bob is my representative, by the way, Bob Titus. So that's what we need to do, gang. And don't worry about personalities. Don't worry about whether or not you like them. This has nothing, just like we tell them that they should be legislating like adults and forgetting their personal squabbles in between each other up at the Capitol, and not to, pit the House against the Senate. And, basically we all hate, this person, or we all should hate that person. Because, we get into that once in a while too, but it's more of a joke. Every one of these people need to be contacted by all of us. So please do, contact all of them. And I am going to, now I'm not saying, what anyone should do, but I'm going to both call and email them. I do phone call first, and then I follow up with an email, usually about a day later. So that's usually the way I handle it. But, if they're going Tuesday, we're out of time. So for the senators, for the hearing, not for co-sponsorships, but for the senators for this pending hearing, we should probably get to work right away. So for people that have time tonight or sometime tomorrow, call and email these folks. Leave a voicemail, send them an email. And you do that by clicking on them because they don't post their email addresses publicly. So we got to send an email to Sandy Crawford. We click on Sandy. We go here to email the senator. If you guys can see that, it's in red. Click on that. And then basically it says, due to the recent passage of Amendment 1 on November 6, 2018, please be advised that any communications or documents received by this office that were previously treated as confidential may now be subject to public disclosure pursuant to a request made under the Missouri Sunshine Law. And that is perfectly fine. So we continue on, and you fill out your information and leave a message. You do the I'm not the robot thing with the, select everything that's got a bicycle. You guys know how this works. So
hey, Pat.
then, yeah, go ahead.
I just heard from the ace of getting co-sponsors through email, my sister. She says she gets the best and quickest responses when the messages are short.
Yep, that's right. I agree with that. And so, and I probably, I misspeak a lot. I probably misspoke. When I was talking about doing 2 or 3 paragraphs, that should be going to those senators. Why this benefits Missouri? We're asking them to vote yes on that bill. We're not asking for a vote on the others. We're asking for co-sponsors, and generally one paragraph is all you need for getting a co-sponsor. That is correct. I agree with that. Different strategies for different situations. In this, by the way, if you're in another state and you want to, get involved in everything, I think the same rules that we deal with here pretty much apply to you. So basically, and I'm talking about the rules of not the rules of combat, but the rules of communicating with a politician, which are virtually a lot like combat anyway. So at any rate, it's the art of war, gang.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, you make sure you read Sue's Art of War before you.
Yep. Because and basically what I recommend, I don't have the book, it's up on my bookshelf over here. I recommend this book all the time, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you want to deal, and there's a very specific reason. If you have not read that book, and if you're too good to read that book, keep in mind others who have read that book are taking advantage of you. They know how to work you because they have read that book. You are now at a disadvantage if you've not read it. So what's really fun is when you have two people that you know for a fact have both read the book, and I guarantee you politicians read that book. They all read it. Fortune 500 company CEOs read that book once a year. They've done, actually stories about this, actually about how important this book is for political and business life. So it is important to us as activists also to know how to win friends and influence people, because that's exactly what we're trying to do at the Capitol. So some people say, I'm not up there to make friends. You're going to make friendships regardless. Even if it's not with the senator or the representative, it's with their LA. All those friendships do come in handy. So it's good.
A short story.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I made a friend of Jeff Knight's aide. When I approached his office, Jeff Knight started to poke me verbally with things that he doesn't like about the gold and silver bill. And anyway, one thing turned to another, and he was looking at the cane I had in my hand, and I said, "Oh yeah, I came in also to get Jeff to give me a refund on it because it's got a crook in it." And it just went on from there. We joked back and forth and everything. His last parting word was, he'll tell Jeff that I came in for a refund on my cane. Anyway, he all of a sudden he was a friend, and he was amicable about delivering my message to Jeff Knight. He kind of left his opposing character and nature, and became a good friend.
Yeah. And
I think if anybody has a problem with who they're approaching, something like that, to turn them around and get them to be friendly, has a great bit of positive action.
Okay. Yep, it sure does. And so you're not going up to Jeff City to make enemies is I think the main point that you're making up there. It doesn't help you to go up there and make enemies. Making friends will help you. And I said I would give you guys a secret, because what you're going to hear from some. There is a representative I dealt with on Wednesday. I'm not going to give his name. But he is a guy I've had extreme difficulty in dealing with on the silver and gold bill in the last 2 years. And he said to me, because I was having the flyer, he goes, "That's not necessary." He says, "I'm not going to vote for that bill." And I said, "Do you mind if I ask why?" And he says, "Yeah, I already told you, it's unnecessary." I did something really weird. I actually engaged in something called negative reinforcement. Here's what I did when he said that. I drew up close to him, so he was maybe about 2 feet away from me. And I said, "You know what, Representative? I'm going to keep that statement between you and me. Because if your constituents find out that you don't give a rat's butt about people that are hurting under this inflation, I don't think you'll ever win an election again. And I shook his hand and I walked away. No more words were exchanged. That's exactly how I dealt with this one representative. And like I said, I'm going to keep his name out of it for now. But he did say the gold and silver bill was totally unnecessary. Those were his words. Well, then why are all these other states doing it? You know, so it's because it is absolutely necessary that the people have another option for transactional money. The dollar is doomed, gang. We have got to start getting ready. And there's a big push for to all go to crypto, and that's not what we want. Go ahead, Tom.
I would love to have a conversation with that man.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we go up together again, I will set you down in his office.
Okay. I'd like to have a cordial and meaningful discourse over what he thinks he believes.
Well,
and I don't know, I may or may not be able to change his mind, but at least he'll know where we stand.
Yep. Well, let's see if he's changed his tune when we see him next. See if he's changed his mind. Because that was a tactic I used with him. I've never done that before, ever. And I wasn't threatening in any way, shape, or form. You know, other than I said, you know, basically if the people in his district found out he didn't care about people suffering under inflation, you know, that's the only thing I really said. I probably wouldn't help you if you decided to run for office again. So that's just what I said, and I shook his hand. I stuck out my hand. He stuck out his. I shook his hand, and I literally turned around and walked away. He did not get a flyer, by the way. He didn't take one. So, but at any rate, maybe after doing that to him, I should revisit. But that's something that you guys should consider doing. If you hear that from a representative or a senator, that it is unnecessary to actually get silver and gold as legal tender in the state of Missouri.
That should have been the start of the discussion, not the end.
Well, the discussion was about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
From beginning to finish. That's all it was. I happened to see him, offered him a flyer. He refused. He didn't even look at it. But he knew I was there for silver and gold. He knew that already. So, but at any rate, that's the tactic that I used, and I kind of surprised myself with that. I didn't see that coming. It was a very spur of the moment, and it's just the way I reacted to him. But at any rate, feel free to use that anywhere you need to. You know, if you're dealing with the legislature and you're talking about, the silver and gold bill. So that's, something that's near and dear to my heart is sharing good advice with other people when it actually works. I don't know if this worked or not yet. I felt pretty good about it.
I think it depends on the person, how they take it and respond to it. You might have done a lot of good with it. Who knows?
Yep. Gabby said, I told a local politician about the Missouri Freedom Initiative, and she said, aren't they kind of radical? LOL. Probably should take that as a compliment.
Yeah. Did you mention anything about tinfoil hats?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So, yeah, we do. We have, I don't know that we have a reputation for being radical, but we have done things that no other grassroots group has ever even attempted before. Knock and Shock is one of them. The original Gold and Silver Day, which we did golden tickets, that was really very well taken. In fact, it's still talked about in the Capitol today, 3 years later.
Yeah,
2 years
next
later.
year wasn't taken as well, though.
Yeah. What's that?
The next year
wasn't taken the gold backs. Well, no, it was taken really well, except by a few people that didn't like the bill.
Yeah. These lovely little things right here.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
I still have mine.
Yep.
Okay, so
yeah, I've got a wallet full.
They've gone up $1.15 since you gave them out.
Yeah, I know they have.
I know, right?
And you know what, gang? There's someone that told me that 6 people had brought in their gold backs. I can't remember to the name of the office, but just say the ethics committee. Because it wasn't that, but just so we can say something. And so at any rate, they called me up and they said, we do have some gold backs here. And we're kind of curious. I said, just hang on to them. I'll pick them up from you, the next time I'm up there. They decided to mail them instead. You know how many were turned in?
How many?
2. 2. And I was told on the phone there were 6 that they had collected. So I don't think that they would lie to me on the phone. I think maybe some representatives came back and said, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You know,
UPMA is trading goldbacks now at 570 today.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
They're going up, gang. But so they were $4.44 when we distributed them last year in the house.
And the first time I looked at them, they were $2 and some odd cents.
That's right.
But
yeah,
UPMA is trading with zero spread on the trade and at full value, including the premium on them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm now banking with UPMA.
Gotcha. No, it's a good outfit.
I got about 500 sitting in mine right now.
I do have some there too.
Yeah, I've got about 530, 540.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I think we covered pretty much everything that we needed to cover for tonight. If anyone, by the way, let me tell you where we're at with our silver and gold here. We have 9 co-sponsors on Bill Hardwick's. That's in the Missouri House. That's HB 433. So we have 9 co-sponsors there. We have 2 co-sponsors on Mike Moon's Senate one. That's unusual. Getting co-sponsors in the Senate is very, very difficult. Yet we already have 2 co-sponsors. So basically, as you're contacting senators, in the committee, you might ask them, at the tail end of your email, please consider co-sponsoring this legislation. So go ahead.
I was told by Brown's secretary, Brown was out of the office, but she said that's not the way it works in the Senate. They don't do co-sponsoring.
They do, but it's rare. So, in fact, I just got off the phone a couple of days ago with Ron Calzone because I thought that if we had 6 co-sponsors, we'd break the records. SEPA had 11 co-sponsors in the Senate. So we're not going to be busting that record. Trust me. I mean, getting 11, we might as well be, shooting a bullet at the moon. So, see, I got to get guns in and space in the same sentence. Look at that.
I'll tell you what, Elon Musk is trying to shoot a bullet at the moon.
Yeah, well, they all are. And so, and by the way, that's very exciting stuff. What's going on, basically between companies competing to be the most viable option to get the United States back into space again. And Elon Musk, he's probably 5 or 6 years ahead of all the rest of them.
Yeah, the next one in line is Blue Origin. But hey, I got to give credit to Musk. He did congratulate Jeff Bezos on his
exploding Starship.
Musk congratulated Bezos on actually getting it launched and being successful.
Yep. It did launch. It just blew up when it got about, was that 12 or 14 miles
No,
up?
that was Starship that did that.
Oh, that was Starship. Okay.
That was Starship. New Glenn did survive and come back down like it's supposed to.
Okay.
Well,
gotcha.
yeah, the first stage survived, but after separation, it veered off and exploded.
Well, it was they actually ended up having a fire in a system because they put a lot more propellant in it this time because they wanted to do a different test with the more weight.
They never made near orbit with it.
Yeah, and that was Starship that did that.
Well, I'm talking about the latest Blue Origin with Blue Glenn.
No, New Glenn, as far as I know, it survived. It was Starship that blew up. It was, in fact, Starship that blew up.
Okay, well, who owns Starship? Can you? Who owns Starship?
Yeah.
Starship is SpaceX.
Yeah.
And
Starship.
Okay.
It blew up and it was flying over Turk and Caicos.
Okay. All right. Just by the way, gang, just because we're close to closing out and everything, just remember, in 2 weeks we're going to revisit what bill we're going to replace SJR 7 with. And also, Maisie Boyd has a bill that we definitely want to look at as well because she's amending it. And so, at any rate, but we will revisit that and we will vote in 2 weeks on what bill we're replacing SJR 7 with. And I have to say it, we kind of officially ended our support for SJR 7 as of tonight. So don't be calling on that one. Don't be trying to get co-sponsors on that one. So we shouldn't spend a lot of energy on something like that where the sponsor even says this, just isn't going to go through. Basically, I just kind of put it here so that folks can be thinking about this and we can approach this in the future. So at any rate, so just keep that in mind. Start looking at other bills if you want. If you guys want to do another marathon event or something, but I think SEPA is a really, really good pick if our group decides to do it because we already have a lot of experience getting SEPA through the finish line.
Yep.
So we just do. I meant there's a lot of us that do. So that have been here since the beginning. So
Hey, Patrick,
yes.
I've been skimming through the House rules that just passed.
Okay.
And I cannot find anything. Doesn't mean it's in there and I didn't miss it, but I could not find anything where it says a Senate bill cannot come over to the House before spring break.
Okay.
That may be more of a traditional thing that things just time-wise don't get over before spring break.
No.
And that may
It
have
was a
been
rule.
after
It was part of
or
HR 11.
It was part of HR 11?
It
Okay.
was. Yep. So maybe that's gone now because that caused a
I'm
lot of
not
problems.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
I don't remember it being eliminated when they filed HR 7.
Okay. All
But
right, gotcha.
I'm not seeing it.
Well, that's something we need to find out, I think, because basically we can shoot, Moon's bill right out of the Senate and then just wait for 6 weeks like we did in 2023.
Right.
But at the same time, it wasn't about it couldn't move to the House from the Senate. It was it couldn't be assigned to a committee until after spring break.
Okay.
That was the specific
Gotcha.
language in HR 11.
So that's in the committee language. Okay.
Yep.
I'll see if I can find that.
Yep.
The other thing in the House, there's a procedural thing, and I know now the rule says that all bills shall be assigned to committee, but the bill carrier has to write a letter from their office to the speaker asking the bill to be assigned to a committee.
Yep. Gotcha.
Of their choice.
Yep.
If that doesn't happen, then the speaker can assign it to any committee of their choice.
Yep.
Or the speaker can literally pull it out of the committee that the bill carrier asked it to go and put it in the committee of their choice.
Yep.
So we still have a ton of authority in the speaker's office, the speaker's position, because they can create a new committee, new special committee on the fly, and then they can load it up with whoever they want it and then put a bill in there to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, including the chair of the committee having full authority to just never hear the bill in the committee.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that. And actually, that's something that I got to look through too. And I could actually make a phone call as opposed to perusing the rules and have a quick answer to that. And so I may end up doing it that way too. But it is important. We do need to know that. But guys, I'm telling you, things are looking good for us. We've heard rumors that Patterson likes silver and gold. He likes the silver and gold bill. We've heard a rumor that the governor likes the silver and gold bill. And we've heard a rumor that the lieutenant governor likes the silver and gold bill. So I'm not stating these as facts. These are somewhat rumors right now, but they're all very positive. The rumors last year was that Parson hated the silver and gold bill and he would veto it if it were passed. And that rumor turned out it came from Plocker's office. Go ahead.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me for the lieutenant governor.
Yeah. So, and Triple T is asking, there are several versions of that book. What year was it published? The version that I have is the original version, and I do believe it has a copyright date. I was asked that before. I think it was 1982. So and by the way, there are many versions of how to win. I think there's three versions of how to win friends and influence. Any one of them are fine. Don't worry about picking up, the specific version. So, but at any rate, the last updated one was about 10 years ago, and I do believe it was by Carnegan's daughter or granddaughter or something like that actually updated the book.
I'm looking at the one on Audible.
Okay.
And it's it's available as an audiobook on Audible.
Yes.
As well.
I knew that. I don't have the audiobook. I have the actual book, but it is available by audiobook. But this is literally how to literally be on the same playing field as a politician. You have to know this book. This is how they operate. They know this book. Now, there are certain politicians, for instance, Sierpoy. I am very certain Senator Sierpoy has never read this book. He does not have people skills. In fact, he looks angry all the time, too. I think there's something internal going on there. So that's an example of one where you don't have to read the book to talk to. But trust me, spend enough time in Sierpoy's office and you'll wish that you were, I don't know, living in California or worse, China. So I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Sierpoy is a nice older gentleman that works in the Senate, and he's often in a bad mood. How about that? Is that the best way I think I can put it?
We'll go with that.
Okay, gotcha. And American Patriot Radio reports, thank you for joining us, by the way, Elon launches to orbit at 5% the cost of NASA. That's right. That's where regulations get you. So Elon's able to bypass a whole bunch of stuff and actually do it significantly cheaper. And that's how he gets so much stuff up there.
Yeah.
And if he was
go ahead. The major cost of the rockets is the first stage too, and
yep.
And so he's been able to amortize the cost of one rocket over 25 launches so far, and that really drops the price of space flight.
Actually, you're correct, but I do think that the development of the command module was the most expensive undertaking that his company has ever done. And that makes sense. But after that, and once they got it nailed down and they can reproduce them quickly, easily, you know, from a working template, you're right. Its first stage is always going to cost the most. You know, just getting, 10, 15 miles up, or in this case of Musk's, I think he's going up about 60 or 70 miles before first stage cuts.
He's going. If I remember correctly, I think it's 50.
50. Okay.
30 to 50 is when depends on the rocket though.
Yep.
Starship. I'm trying to remember. I think Starship is between 30 and 50.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Falcon 9, the Super Heavy, is a bit higher.
Yeah. Then the Falcons, they get the second stage almost into orbit before they back off.
Yep. So Warrior Class asked if I would email a copy to everyone about the email I'm writing to the senators. And I would be very happy to. So actually, I probably will send out a Monday email anyway, just so you guys know what I'm sending. But please rewrite it. Please do that. One thing that they really, really dread up there in Jefferson City is boiler room emails. They really don't like them up there. They prefer someone to write in their own words as opposed to taking a boiler room email and then just resending it over and over again. And they know, trust me, because they do read them.
As I don't like to paste and copy someone else's work either. I want to express myself.
Yep. And when
I
write those, go ahead.
No, it's going. I just was going to say I would not plagiarize your email in order to represent myself.
That's right.
That just doesn't do the job.
Yep. So give you a general idea of how I write it, but at the same time, rewrite, please. Very, very important. Let's see. Wilderness Gal. Hey, everyone. We have to wake up very early tomorrow. Worked hard today. Exhausted. Great seeing everyone on Wednesday. Cannot stay any longer. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and good night. Good night to Doug and Maya. So thank you for joining us tonight. And I think we'll close up here because I think we got the main stuff that we needed to cover done tonight. So we will cover more news on what's going on in Jeff City. But right now, we're in some pretty good news. And it's often, we're driven by hope and optimism this early in the year, not by good news. But on Wednesday, we got a lot of good news for silver and gold. So actually, that should give people, some hope. I know that Plocker wouldn't let it through. Plocker considered it leverage because it was the most popular bill of 2023, and it was the most popular bill of 2024. It wasn't the most controversial. That would go to the SAFE Act. But you guys know what I'm saying. The most popular bill that has people coming in droves up to the Capitol and emailing and calling, Plocker took it upon himself to use it as leverage to try and get something he wanted out of the Senate. And the Senate wasn't willing to give it to him, so basically it was a standoff and nothing got done. Same thing happened again in 2024. Precisely the same tactics used by Plocker in 2023, he deployed also in 2024. We do not have Plocker anymore. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We have heard from reliable sources that Jonathan Patterson does in fact like the bill. So we struggled to get that data, on Plocker. On Patterson, it was relatively easy. So, and we're hearing that the governor, is looking favorably at this bill as well. That's another rumor. Can't be verified. The Patterson came from 3 sources. The lieutenant governor and the governor came from 1 source. So that's less reliable. So Patterson likes it. What that means, we're getting through the House. It's going to get done. We've been through the Senate twice. We know how to do it. And Mike Moon is a seasoned pro, so he knows how to do it. Plus, there's a lot of support in the Senate. There's a lot of senators that like the bill. So, guys, as far as silver and gold goes, we're doing pretty good. We need to start concentrating on when we make phone calls, when we send emails to reps for silver and gold in the House. We also need to be asking for co-sponsorships on the other bills as well. The 2 camera bills that we're doing. I don't have it in front of me right now, but so remember, the bills that we support, we should be getting co-sponsors on all of them and giving reasons for all of them as well. So if you guys run out of ideas, the flyers that we do in the past, we've had 3 years worth of silver and gold flyers. You can find it on our Odysee channel. So that's another way to get ideas for how to write emails. Basically supporting silver and gold. So whether it's for a senator for a pending hearing or for a representative for, basically a co-sponsorship, keep it short and to the point and be very, very kind to them. You will get nothing by being mean, trust me. In fact, they'll remember you as well, and they'll never give you anything ever again. If you ever happen to see Lincoln Huff up at the Capitol, you're just perusing around, in the Capitol building, and Lincoln Huff walks by. I would like to encourage everyone to compliment him on his hair.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's what I do. Every time I see Lincoln Huff, hey, nice hair, man. Yeah, your hair looks great today. One time I said his hair looked fabulous. I'm not sure I'm going to say it that way ever again.
No,
but
no.
Well, he was alone. So it's my word against his.
Oh, God.
So,
you didn't do a flick of the wrist.
No, I did not.
All right.
No.
I want to make sure.
No.
I want to make sure.
No. So, but that's Lincoln Huff, and there's some history there and stuff like that. But this is why you don't want to make enemies at the Capitol, no matter what. Even if they've disappointed you, made you angry, if they've killed your bill, you still don't want to make enemies with these folks, because you want to be able to ask them to do something for you next year. And if you made an enemy out of them, you're not going to get them to do anything for you. So always be polite. But if they do something wrong, it should be addressed, but in a very adult and professional way. So at any rate, that's what we do when we're trying to get legislation done. Remember, gang, we don't have money. We don't have, we're not scribbling out $10,000 checks to people we're asking things for. So we're depending on our knowledge, our expertise, and our smiling faces to get us through. And that got SEPA through. There was no money in SEPA. So I want people to remember that. SEPA got through with no money, and it was the biggest, boldest 10th Amendment action ever undertaken by any of the 50 states ever, and no one has ever matched it. So at any rate, it is possible to get stuff done. You just got to get enough people involved. So the pressure, and that's another thing too, is, you know, we're not exerting a lot of pressure yet, but we do need to start getting on these senators in this committee. And I will send another email out on Monday with instructions on that. Okay, does anyone have any final words they want to throw in before we wrap it up for the evening?
Yeah, the camera bills, I believe, is HB 658 and 561.
Okay, yep, that sounds right. I don't have my notes in front of me tonight, so I didn't know what they were. My notebook is actually over at my other desk. And I was actually looking at it earlier because I wanted to make sure of the order of the bills. And by the way, if you ever wondered why it's important for me to know which is our most important bill by votes, you know, number one bill versus our fifth bill, which has the least amount of votes, is because that's the order in which they go on the flyers that I create that go up to Jeff sitting with us for Knock and Shock. That's specifically why. I put them on the paper in order that they were voted. So at any rate, that's why I do that way. So that's a little OCD, pardon me.
I'd like to say.
Yep.
When you talk to your representative, I don't know, I'm very close to mine. I mean, extremely close. When I say extremely close, we've never had coffee or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I email her constantly about different things. And I email her and wish her a happy anniversary, a Merry Christmas, and happy birthday, whatever. She knows that she's on my mind constantly with little things like that.
Yep. That's really good. I mean, you're taking how to win friends and influence people to the next level.
The other thing too is up in that part of the state. I mean, it's one of those places where everybody kind of knows everybody in that general area, and if you don't know them directly, somebody does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep.
Patrick, I have a bit of news on the LPR readers.
Okay.
In Camden County, the commission about a year ago passed an ordinance outlawing them in the county. Now, that meant that a private entity like a car wash who uses them to keep track of their customers can still use them, and cities, other municipalities can install them, but just not out in the county itself. Well, there was one installed in Camden County, and the state of Missouri had been given a year's notice to remove it. It was removed right before the first of the year, which I think most of us knew that. But Thursday, someone, I think it's a contractor, but it could have been Flock, came back and put it back up.
Okay.
So, and the person that took the camera down, allegedly, is also under investigation.
Yep.
And that is the presiding commissioner. And so this may be, it's really important that this bill passes, because this would then give municipalities really the ability to say yes or no, but more than that, just no in the state of Missouri. So right now, this idea is going to go through the court system to see, does the state or does the county have the authority to be sovereign?
Yep. And actually, unfortunately, by the Missouri Constitution, the answer is the state.
Yep. Missouri's a Dillon rule state, not a home rule state.
That's right.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be the state. And so that's why this legislation that we're supporting is so important. We need to do this statewide anyway. And by the way, I want to give kudos to the people of Camden County that literally recognized that camera was a threat to their Fourth Amendment rights and actually try to do something about it. I'm certainly not going to take anything away from that. But basically, that's through the state government that those cameras are going up. And so it's through state highway patrol, federal grants coming through highway patrol going to individual counties.
Correct.
So it's still on. Go ahead.
It goes further than that, because the state public safety has an MOU with Flock that literally Flock can take that data and give it or sell it to whoever they want
That's
to.
correct. And that's kind of, I've already started that argument up in Capitol. And by the way, a lot of reps liked those camera bills that we were carrying. Get rid of the camera bills.
Good deal.
Yep. So
Yay.
very positive feedback.
Those cameras, all of them, and they sell it straight to the what is it? What's the word I'm looking for here? Servers, federal servers. I'm trying to remember the name now. I lost it. I lost the word.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I just heard that Columbia has contracted to have 115 of those installed in the city of Columbia by midsummer.
Yep. This has got to be stopped. Because
It really does.
it's the same thing they started with in England about 20 years ago. And they and they call them Nest cameras there. We call them Flock cameras here.
I think they call them low res cameras there, or low or something. It's low ULEZ cameras is what they call them now.
Okay. But the fact is, they were putting them up in large quantities all over London. And then once they had completely covered London in a period of about 5 years, 5 years is all it took to go from no cameras to you can't walk anywhere in London without being caught on camera somewhere. Then they started spreading out throughout the entire UK.
And now you got you've got groups of guys in ski masks and all that. They call it the Blade Runners.
So,
well, now they've got AI monitoring face recognition over them, tracking everybody in the UK.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's pretty bad. But I'm glad. In fact, the kind of bills we selected this year were really, really interesting to me. I love all of them. But we'll still actually come together in 2 weeks and we'll talk about this because SJR 7 is officially dropped. So anyone who is watching this, and I'll put this in the email on Monday, please don't make phone calls or support that bill whatsoever at this point, because if the bill sponsor is even saying this thing's not going through, and the staff is saying this thing's not going through, and I love the idea of us going through the exercise of trying to get rid of property taxes, because and I'm talking about property taxes, not personal property. We have taken that one on before. But
Real property.
I'd like for us to learn basically all the folks that would come down on us and that would come out of the woodwork to oppose the bill and learn who they are, who they represent, what their backing is. And so an academic exercise would have been lovely out of that bill. But at the same time, I don't want us to waste our time where I know we can't get any traction because even the bill sponsors, kind of down on his own bill. So at any rate, that's the reason why. So I think I've been very clear, maybe way, way, way too clear on that. But that's specifically the reason why. But I do want to thank everyone who chose to spend the last 2 hours with the Missouri Freedom Initiative. And if you watch us in a rerun, don't worry, we're still live most Saturday nights. So it'd be, if you want to, we're not every single Saturday because I have to leave town sometimes. So I'd say about 3 Saturdays a month we're live. And then we do, basically, we have a website, mofree.org. Please do sign up to our email list if you haven't. Tom updates our website with the emails I send out every Saturday or whenever they get sent out. It's more than once a week during the legislative session, emails get sent out. So FYI. But I've never done more than 3 in 1 week. So it's not, like you're bombarded daily, with huge emails. And I really don't like writing the long ones either. I like to keep them short. So just keep that in mind. We're also on socials. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, what's stopping you? It's free. There's absolutely no charge for doing so, and you'll make me happy at the same time. So thank you for that. And also too, basically, be sure to share the video. If you're in Missouri, especially, share the video with your friends, family, your workmates. Share the videos around because that's the only way you get to beat the YouTube ever-changing algorithm. To actually get more people And I do have people that email me all the time saying, oh, your live streams don't look up to par. Your website is not up to snuff. They're trying to sell me services, and I have to email them back and say, we don't have money. So if you want to do this stuff for free, you are more than welcome to do so. But if you want money, we just don't got it. So we don't collect money. We're not that kind of organization.
Hey, what about that 800,000 in liberal dark money?
Yep. Well, it's been let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 months since the accusation is made.
Yeah,
and I have
spent it
never
already.
received that check.
Yeah, I know. We still haven't received it.
So my guess is if there was a check, it is now expired.
Yep,
Much like Dean
180
Blocker
days.
has. Just thought I'd throw that in there. And by the way, by expire, I mean not in politics anymore, gang. Gosh darn it, you guys.
His political career expired.
Yes, his political career is over. Dean Blocker got to find out the hard way. And by the way, no hard feelings.
He did marginally better than a niche internet micro celebrity. So
yeah, I know. You just marginally better. Like 1 or 2% better. So, and that's it. But that's what happens to politicians when they go bad. The grassroots will strike back. Don't think they won't. And if you want to call us names and say we're tinfoil hat wearing, we're radical, we're conspiracy theorists and all that fun stuff, that's fine. It really doesn't bother us at all. But when you run for re-election, watch out.
I wish I had a roll of tinfoil here. I'd just shove it on for laughs.
Yeah, I know. I got to make a tinfoil hat I need to wear in a live stream. I do need to do that at some point.
Believe it or not, for about the past 20 minutes, I've been looking at making my own gold and silver leaf covered hat. That way I can have a gold foil hat.
Yep.
It's actually more affordable than one might actually think.
Yep.
Okay, so that was Joe Mama, who always calls me during the live stream. So Joe Mama, I'm not going to text you back saying we're live right now. We're live right now. Hopefully you're watching. All right, so I think that's about it. But like I started out by saying how valuable everyone's time is. In those that are concentrating on Missouri politics that live in Missouri, this will pay you back. This is about freedom. This is literally about stopping the people in Jeff City from taking your freedom. And so this is what this big exercise is about, the Freedom Initiative. It's about eliminating corruption in our state, draining the swamp, if you will. Or, people have said, hey, swamps are really nice ecosystems. We need to start calling it the sewer because that's where all the crap is. And
cesspool.
Cesspool.
The quagmire.
So, draining the cesspool, the Jefferson City cesspool. And that's what we need to do. All of us need to work together to do it. And other states should be watching what we're doing. And if any other state had anything like us, we would definitely know it by now. There's no states doing what we do. But then again, it's a personal decision what people do with their time. I get that. I give up an enormous amount of my time to try and get my state to fly right. And I realize there's a lot of people saying, well, I can't do that. I mean, I can't invest time like that unless I'm getting paid. And so you have to get rid of that mentality. The payment is the fact that your kids will have a free state to live in. That's the payment. It's not about cash, gang. It's about the future of our kids. Our futures, too. Caleb, you're just a spring chicken, so
hey,
I'm sorry.
So you know what? This is the funny part. This is the funny part. Everybody's supposed to card in this state. If you look under 40, I never get carded.
Okay. Carded for what?
If I, buying cigars or buying,
gotcha.
anything like that, I never get carded.
Okay. All right.
Well, neither do I.
Yeah, I don't either. So I meant.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a difference here.
But anyway, no, I'm just teasing. But the point is made, I think, is that freedom for the next generations is what's at stake here. And I take a personal responsibility for it because I have a daughter and I have 2 grandkids. And I don't want them growing up in the cesspool. I don't want them growing up in the likes of Illinois or California or New York in my state of Missouri. So that's why I fight. So everyone has different reasons. Some people just like the fight. Some people like to be involved in politics. I would prefer not to, personally. But this is the only way. to actually keep the state free is to get involved. That's it. That's your only option. For those who have better things to do with their time, like watch television or play games or stuff like that, especially if you live in Illinois and New York and California, all I have to say to you is good job. You know, that's good job. Well done. Okay, for those in Missouri, I'd also like to say good job and well done. We've done some amazing things here, and we will continue to do amazing things. We're going to outdo ourselves every year. We're growing bigger. We're growing stronger. We have a lot more people. And so the politicians have been put on notice. So that's what we got out of it. What states besides Missouri have gotten that done? So actually, they're on notice now. So keep that in mind. And there's more information coming out about that from Freedom Principle Missouri. You can find them on Twitter. I'm not gonna steal their game. In fact, I'm thinking about inviting Byron to come on and talk to us about what he's tweeting about. So maybe that'll be in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, but for now, we're going to wrap her up. We're just over the 2-hour mark. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And if I may, take a quick moment to ask God to bless everyone in the state of Missouri. Dear God in heaven, creator of the universe, creator of all things seen and unseen, please grant on the people of Missouri good health, wisdom, and courage for the battles that we have coming. Please grant us your grace. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, gang. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Look for an email on Monday.